Hello friends, I'm Dr. Ashutosh Javadekar and I welcome you in this new episode of Book Pro. This is a series for reviews, appreciation and basically to have the aroma of the book around you. Today is a very special episode for two reasons, because I'm going to talk about a very special writer. His name is Sanjeev Sanyal and I'm standing at a very special location, and the location is this is the southernmost tip of India. It's Vivekananda Rock Memorial at Kanyakumari, and you can see the vast Indian Ocean behind it. It's a beautiful sight to behold. I'm breathing the fresh sea scent, and this book by Sanjeev Sanyal is also titled as The Ocean of the Churn. And very interestingly, it basically is about the human history, geography and geopolitics evolved around the rim of the Indian Ocean, starting from the East Africa to the Gulf countries, to the Indian subcontinent, to this tip where I am standing, to the Southeast Asian countries including Singapore, and also to the Australia. So you can see this rim of the Indian Ocean. I have Arabian Sea to my left side, I have Bay of Bengal to my right side, and they are confluencing here in the Indian Ocean. If you look in the maps, there is Antarctica in the straight line. Talking of the book, this is a very interesting book about how the rim, how the coastline of this Indian Ocean has been a boiling pot for the geo-cultural politics of human race across centuries, across decades, and Sanjeev ji has very brilliantly painted. So this peculiar book is a great melange of historical facts, anecdotes about the great personalities, very kind, great rurals, as well as the tyrants who shaped human history in such a way that it really affected the lives of the common people in a good or bad ways across the whole rim of Indian Ocean, which is a big territory, as I told. So just let me take you through the contents of this peculiar book. The first chapter is introduction. The second chapter is genetics and ice, which is very interesting because see from where Sanjeev ji begins his book. It's not about just few decades or couple of years or even centuries. He starts from the genetics of the whole human race and how the first human race started migration from the African continent across the Indian Ocean rim, and about which he debunks the theory of the Aryan attack over India, because he tells you with the new explanation, new scientific explanation about how practically all the Indians are almost having kind of similar genes nowadays. The third topic is about the merchants of Meluhav, and then there is a chapter on Arabian Nights. Now, Arabian Nights, we all know that how closely the maritime connection of the Gulf countries and India is. I was traveling in Kerala in this last week, and as we all know that even today, while chatting with the tea vendor or with the auto person, I came to realize that even one person in the family of Kerala is still right now also working in some of the countries like Saudi Arabia and UAE. So we have that special connection with these countries, and this maritime connection was basically founded not just a couple of years ago or decades ago, but several centuries ago, the tale of which is there in the Arabian Nights. Then there is a very beautiful topic about the merchants, temples and rice. Talking of the temples, I am in the South India. We all know that how beautiful South Indian temples are, and we know how wealthy they are. I recently had visited the very powerful, divine kind of temple of Sri Padmanabha Swami in Tiruvananthapuram. And talking of these temples, we all know that many of these temples were rich or are rich since the medieval history time. But the thing is, what we probably don't know is they were practically acting as the mercantile banks. These peculiar temples were in a way the intermediary between the kingdoms and the merchants were taking their sales across this Indian Ocean straight away towards the Bali, and then there is the dream of the Majapahita's kingdom. So we all know that even today Singapore's fourth national language is Tamil. So we all know how the Indian people, the South Indian diaspora was there from this peculiar tip to many of the countries, Southeast Asian countries, starting from Cambodia to Singapore to Indonesia to even Bali, where still the popular Hindu culture is there. I recall a very special visit of mine in Bali, where we visited across beautiful island, lovely beaches and some lovely temples. But what I never knew that time, that why the name of the Bali airport was Nura Rai. So then this book made me realize that he was a great warrior and he fought against the Dutch people. And not only that, that Bali people, they did a resistance with sometimes with the fierce action, but sometimes like something called as Paputan, which is something akin to the Johar. So I never knew that. So now we see the connection of this Indianness, which doesn't end here at the tip of India, but which starts here and it is spread across. And nowadays we have a special tie-up with Australia. And then there is a topic about the treasure and spice, about nutmegs and cloves, because Dutch people, how they ruled Indonesia, how they looted, how the whole European domination was creating a conflict in this peculiar Indian subcontinent as well as in Indonesia and other countries. And then we have the fresh history of the British colonial power, where also Indian Ocean Rim was very important, because as we know, Azad Hind Sena was basically was rooted in Singapore, not in India. And Sanjeev Sanyal is very, very peculiar about writing his own point of view about all the revolutionaries. He favors them most of the times, but in his own unique way, which you must read. And then there is a new topic, From Dusk to New Dawn, which beautifully speaks about one of my favorite cities, that's Mumbai, which was Bombay. And precisely Sanjeev ji tells us how the whole journey is from Bombay to Mumbai and what is the exact difference between that. And this is the scene from which the history started changing as far as this coast is concerned. And Sanjeev ji's book, with great details, with all the subtleties, with all the intricacies, brings out the kind of the aroma of the history, which would compel you to sit quiet and think twice about not only the history of this peculiar coast and this peculiar country, but about the future. One of the peculiarities of this book I found while reading thrice for that matter, is this, that the writer is very much present in all his statements. He has his own point of view. I'm not saying just political point of view. He has his own point of view, and he is very much present in all the sentences. But let me again say, but very subtly, because sometimes what happens, the writer is in the process of imparting his own stamp in every statement he writes in his text, and then the voice of the book gets lost often. Fortunately, in Sanjeev Sanyal's The Ocean of Churn, this hasn't happened. Hi friends, so here I am literally standing at the tip of the Shikara boat in the famous Aleppi backwaters, as you can see, and we were speaking about this wonderful great treatise by Sanjeev Sanyal, The Ocean of Churn. Whole narrative is so smooth. The flow of the narrative is very easy going, and the reason behind this probably is because the author is not a pedantic kind of author who would be just throwing the references onto you to create a kind of image of a Pandit, because he is indeed a Pandit. He is not in a need to create any image. So what happens is that although there are references at the end of every chapter, it's almost like a PhD treatise or even postdoctoral thesis if you ask me. But if you are reading, the references don't come in the way of the reader and the text. It's a very beautiful melange of the references, of the fact, coupled with the personal observations also. So literally while I was in Kerala, I was enjoying reading this book third time, because I first read it while I was myself COVID affected in New Delhi, and I was taking a rest, I was having fever, and in between I was reading this book and getting some energy while reading this maritime history. The second time, of course, I read in my hometown Pune, and I enjoyed it thoroughly, and now I'm again rereading it in Kerala, and I'm coming towards the very last leg of this peculiar book. Sanjeev Sanyal sums up the whole narrative. He writes, This book is concerned with the past, but the wheels of history roll relentlessly forward. What does the future hold? Even as I was completing this book, there were signs that the Indian Ocean may become the theatre of a new geopolitical rivalry between India and China. No one who saw Zheng He's magnificent treasure fleet would have believed that a few decades later, a small country in the Iberian Peninsula would open the Indian Ocean to centuries of European domination. If there is one lesson from this history, it is this: time devours the greatest of men and the mightiest of empires. So I hope you enjoyed episode 3 of this peculiar series of book reviews in English as well as Marathi, and the name of which is Book Bro. So please do subscribe to my YouTube channel Ashu's Tunes, and do like, do comments, and do read Sanjeev Sanyal's fabulous book. We'll be meeting next time with some new book. Stay tuned, guys. Bye bye.